Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're taking a look at how I do upside down kettlebell or dumbbell presses like this. But as always, you shouldn't be performing any exercises that you see on the internet unless you've been cleared by a medical professional to do so. And additionally, I'm not having any numbness, tingling, burning pain, stabbing pain, or anything like that. If I did, I would stop and talk to a medical professional because that's a sign that something more serious is typically going on. Now, let's take a look at how I do the upside down kettlebell and dumbbell press, and let's take a look at why. So, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the dumbbell. I'm not going to hold it along the handle because you've probably seen people doing exercises like this. Maybe you can see them do fancy stuff like this. But very rarely do you ever see anybody holding a dumbbell on the long axis and pushing it up and overhead. And the reason for that is because why would you? The handle's right there. There's no point to make it more complicated, right? Maybe. And as I've probably said 1,000 times, and I'll continue saying, it depends. For me, the whole purpose of me doing this exercise, this intervention, is to take something simple and add an element of instability. So when I'm using my left arm, which is my less stable arm, and I try to press overhead, you're going to notice that my control, I'm not trying to act, is quite a bit different. Coming down this movement as I fight to try and keep the dumbbell from moving versus when I do it over here on my right. You'll notice that my range of motion is a little bit better too. So what's the point of me doing this? The point of me doing this is to add that instability to work my shoulder stabilizers that much more. When I'm using an upside down kettlebell, I'm also getting the benefit of using my wrist a little bit more. With this, it kind of takes out a lot of those elements. There's not so much instability. The only thing I really have to worry about is my wrist caving if I'm using a really heavy weight, either this way or this way. When I have it on its long axis, well, now I have all that degrees of freedom in play that now my wrist, my shoulder has to take into account. Even my elbow to a degree with my triceps and my biceps having to fight to lock that elbow in place or to move it, right? All that instability now becomes a stimulus to my muscles, and it helps with the stabilizing. You'll notice that my left doesn't nearly have as good range of motion as much as my right. Now here's the key that I learned when I was doing this that really helped me. A lot of us live with protracted shoulders, and when you try to press with a protracted shoulder, you're not going to get very far. Instead, if you open up the chest, pull the shoulders back, then add load with the shoulders retracted. So you see my natural proclivity is to have it all the way up here. If I instead retract a little bit and then press up and overhead, that's way better. And this is how it becomes a little bit diagnostic for me. My left shoulder loves to come forward. My right one loves to stay back. So I feel this when I'm working out sometimes, is this one's come forward and this one's hanging out back here. When I go to do this press, there's no option for me. I have to keep that shoulder retracted, then I have to be locked in, and then I have to press. And then suddenly my range of motion gets a lot better. And then when I'm working at stabilizer, when I'm working to stabilize, I get a lot better of a workout of those functional shoulder stabilizers in a motion that I do quite a lot. I spend a lot of time reaching, re-whacking weights, pulling the weights down. It's part of my job, right? So I do a lot of that. But this functionally also not just works my wrist and a little bit of my triceps, my elbows and stability and my shoulder stabilizers. I'm also working my periscapular muscles to pull everything back and retract them, to keep that good posture and to also keep the head of my humerus in the glenohumeral joint where it belongs, instead of it being all the way here, which I know for me will contribute to my AC joint pain, my shoulder impingement, which you've probably heard me talking about before. So I'm trying to avoid that left shoulder impingement. This helps force me to open up, exist in that place of scapular retraction, and then press, because there's no other way that I can get this range if I'm here trying to press. It's just not happening. So I tend to dose these depending on the weight, depending on my goal. If I'm doing a sort of rehab day, I tend to dose those for 2 sets of 20 for myself with a very light weight. I focus on the muscle contraction. If I'm using it as an actual workout with a kettlebell, I'm replacing like my normal dumbbell overhead press, I tend to do 3 sets of 8 to 3 sets of 10, depending on how I'm feeling that day. 3 sets of 8 is much more common for me than 3 sets of 10. But when I do them, my focus is also my posture, making sure I have that scapular retraction and then pressing, making sure that I'm using those shoulder stabilizers and not letting my shoulder get locked in, almost like that boxing stance. Instead, I'm making sure it's opened up and retracted where it needs to be so I have that range of motion. Now, this has been how I do the upside down dumbbell / kettlebell press. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. Please check out the website, link down in the description. Offer me suggestions on what you would like to see next. Shout out to my amazing patrons. You guys make this all possible. The funding from the Patreon is what's going to paying for the website, and it's one of the big contributors for that being able to even be available. So you guys are amazing. Thank you so much for doing that. And now everybody, don't forget, everybody stay healthy, stay fit, and stay awesome. And I will catch you all in the next video.